I put off talking about this for a really long time because I couldn't talk about it without crying. So let's see how this goes. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are getting a little bit more serious and we're going to be talking about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Alrighty, so let's just get into it. I am honestly a little bit nervous to film this because obviously this is a very vulnerable kind of video. I just wanted to get this video up because on my Instagram I mentioned something that I was struggling with, and it had to do with postpartum anxiety, and so many moms DM'd me saying that they feel the exact same way, or they went through that when their baby was younger, but no one really talked about it. So I felt it really heavy on my heart to make this video, even though it's gonna be a little bit difficult and it may get a little bit emotional. I do want to put this out there so other moms know that they're not alone and that things can and will get better. I have my handy dandy bullet journal here. I wrote down some notes because I feel like this video is going to be longer than normal, but I don't want it to be too long, so I want to kind of organize my thoughts, which is what I did. I believe I have 4 different sections, and I will put a timestamp down below of each section so you can kind of skip around if you want to. So first it's going to be pre-giving birth. So basically like my history, what I went through when I was pregnant, post, after I gave birth. That's going to be more so about like depression, and then I'm going to talk about anxiety, and then lastly I'm going to talk about how you can possibly help someone, whether it be your partner or a friend or family that you feel like may be struggling with postpartum anxiety or depression. So first, let's just kind of talk about what it is. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, postpartum depression is a mood disorder that can affect women after childbirth. Mothers with postpartum depression experience feelings of extreme sadness, anxiety, and exhaustion that make it difficult for them to complete daily care activities for themselves and for others. Postpartum depression does not have a single cause, but likely results from a combination of physical and emotional factors. This has to do with the hormones, your estrogen and progesterone levels dropping so drastically, and it's seriously wild. Other factors include you not being able to really heal physically after childbirth, because then you have to jump right into being a mom, and then also not getting enough sleep, because that can definitely affect your mood and your behaviors. So first and foremost, I'm not a doctor. This is my experience. If you feel like you are going through postpartum depression or you have postpartum anxiety, please talk to somebody that you care about and that you trust, and please consider seeing a doctor. That way you can get the help that you need, because this is very serious and it can get very lonely and it can get very scary, but I don't want you to feel like that, and I don't want you to feel like you're at rock bottom and there's just nowhere else for you to go. Getting that disclaimer out of the way, let's do the pre portion of it. So this is kind of my history before I gave birth and all that kind of stuff. So even before I got pregnant, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, anxiety, and PTSD. I said this on Instagram that I have had my journey with my mental health issues, and I believe it was last Mental Health Awareness Day, either this past year or last year, that I do want to share that journey with you guys, but I'm just not quite ready yet. But anyways, I am ready to talk about my postpartum depression and anxiety. I honestly feel like I experienced prenatal depression. This is when you basically experience depression while you're pregnant. I've never heard anybody talk about it personally. I actually had to look it up, like, why am I depressed while I'm pregnant? And of course at least I felt so guilty, because I was like, so many people want to get pregnant. I wanted so badly to get pregnant and have kids, and that was just like my biggest dream of life. But here I was, depressed and miserable. I know this sounds really like surfacey, but I'm super passionate about Instagram, posting on Instagram, makeup, all that kind of stuff. I didn't wear makeup for months. I barely got out of my bed. I didn't post on Instagram for weeks at a time, and that was so unlike me, so much so that like random followers kind of DM'd me like, hey, you haven't posted in a while, like, are you okay, like, what's going on? I didn't post that I was pregnant yet. It was just really hard. I wasn't eating. I was very sick throughout my whole pregnancy, so I feel like that didn't help. So I was extremely sick, losing over 20 pounds through my pregnancy. We got into a car accident, which was really scary. My car got totaled. Just a lot of different things going on, and that I felt so lonely and sad during my pregnancy, even though it should be such an exciting time in my life. So I experienced that as well, but I wasn't very vocal about it because I didn't even know what was going on at that time. I even had people in my life get upset at me for being sad. I'm now going to be talking about while in the hospital and after that. So basically after I gave birth to Noah. I put off talking about this for a really long time because I couldn't talk about it without crying. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so I had a great, not bad, like labor and delivery. I personally loved like the pushing part. I felt phenomenal, but phenomenal. I gave birth at 1:41 in the morning. So we went back to the room. Fast forward to about Sunday night. So for my family, everyone kind of comes to the hospital, so I had non-stop people in my room, and I was okay with that. There was so much love and people were holding Noah, and it was all good. So I think that's what really made such a stark difference from day to night, because it was so much company, so much love, and then all of a sudden it's just Tommy and I with Noah. And I think that was a little bit overwhelming. But this particular night, Sunday night, Noah would not go to sleep. I felt like he was latching fine. I felt like he was eating like he had been. He had been pooping a lot. I was trying to nurse him. He didn't want to do that. I tried to hold him. He was still crying. I tried to put him down. He was still crying. Nothing was really working. So I was holding him, but I was so tired that I was falling asleep. And I was so scared that I was gonna drop him, so I forced myself to stay awake, and I would put him down in his bassinet so I could try to go to sleep. He would be screaming and I wouldn't be able to get sleep anyways. So it was honestly miserable, and 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock came, and when it was 3 o'clock, I looked at the time and I said, if he's not asleep by 4 o'clock, I'm gonna call the nurse to get him. I was just so overwhelmed. And 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock came around. He was not sleeping. He was still crying. And I waited maybe 5 to 8 more minutes. And when 4:08 came around, I was crying because I knew I was about to call the nurse to come get him because I couldn't do it. So I called the nurse, crying on the little remote monitor, saying, can you please send my nurse in here? My nurse came into the room and I was sobbing, and I just asked her if she could take him. And the look on her face was like, she was shook. She was, I guess she didn't really know what she was walking into, but she asked if I was okay, and I said no. And I said, I just need to get some sleep. And she said, of course. So she took him. She took him to the nursery, and I got to fall asleep. I had been a mom for 24 hours and I already couldn't handle it. And that was a really shitty feeling, but I went to sleep because I had to. So I honestly thought I was gonna get like 30 minutes of sleep and she'd bring him back, because I was watching the clock that I had to feed him like every hour and a half or whatever. But I woke up at like 6 o'clock to someone knocking on my door. My son came rolling back into the room with his pediatrician, and I love her. She's amazing. She came back in and she was so sweet. She came into the room and she basically told me that Noah was losing too much weight. So 2 hours earlier, I was feeling like a failure. And then I get woken up just to be told that he was losing too much weight. So a little bit of a backstory is that after birth, babies can lose about 10% of their body weight. This is fluids, poop, all that kind of stuff. And in the first 12 hours of his life, 12 to 18 hours of his life, or however long, he lost 4% of his body weight, which is great, that's fine. But within only a few hours, maybe 5 to 6 hours, he lost 5% more. So the fact that he lost total of 9% of his body weight isn't alarming. It's the fact that he lost 5% in a short amount of time. So she then told me that she wanted us to supplement with formula, and after that night that I had, I just bursted into tears, and even she was taken aback by that, at my reaction to what she had just told me. It's a mix of the expectation you put on yourself as a mom with the idea that breastfeeding is so natural and so easy, with this weird as social judgment of formula. So I felt, again, like I was the shittiest mom in the world. Like I couldn't be patient enough to stay up with Noah in the middle of the night, and then I couldn't do something so natural as to breastfeed my child. That like messed with my mind so much. Like this is, being a mom is all that I've ever wanted in my life. Ask any of my family members, any of my friends. I didn't really care about much else, but I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to have a family. But in 24 hours, I was failing so miserably at it. So I thought, and that was the beginning of this really dark time for me, because every time we gave him a bottle, it would just be a reminder in my mind. This is not fact. In my mind, it would be a reminder of me failing, me not being good enough. So when we got home, Tommy's parents would come over and have dinner with us and see Noah and hold him and stuff. So the day that we came home from the hospital, they came over and we were eating dinner, and Noah had to get a bottle. And they asked, oh, he's getting a bottle? Like, not even in a judgmental way, not even one bit. But of course, I took it totally differently, and I just started bawling, and I tried to tell them what I just told you, basically, and I couldn't get through it. So I asked my mom, or Tommy, I asked somebody to finish telling them the story, and I excused myself to go to the bathroom, and I just cried. And this is something that I did every single day for weeks. I would be eating dinner with my family, and all of a sudden I would burst into tears mid-bite, and I would just be crying, and it got to a point where my family wouldn't even like ask me if I'm okay. Not in like an inconsiderate or rude way at all, but they just knew that this was just a thing that happened, and they knew to just let me cry and let me get past this. And if I couldn't control it, and if I couldn't calm myself down, then I would excuse myself to the bathroom, and I would just sit there, and more often than not, Tommy would come and find me in the bathroom just crying. I remember texting some of my friends, like, I can't do this, or I'm failing, or I thought I was gonna be good at this. I wanted this so badly, but maybe I'm not meant to be a mom. I convinced myself that I wasn't meant to be a mom. Can you believe that? That could not be farther from the truth. I was made to be a mom. I'm thriving at being a mom. I'm loving it now, and I couldn't imagine having a better baby and a better partner. So my crying at dinner time, I think, had to do with the fact that nighttime was coming. Once the sun started to go down, I felt this wave of anxiety and wave of depression and fearing the nighttime, because it would be dark, everyone would be sleeping, and I would, of course, Tommy and I, when I say I mean Tommy and I, we would have to just deal with Noah on our own. I would have such bad anxiety and like sadness and depression anticipating the nighttime, and I would just be in a terrible mood. For a long time in the beginning, I didn't really feel this like crazy connection to Noah. Like, some moms talk about how when their baby is born, they are just instantly in love and they have this magical connection and their whole life now has meaning and makes sense. Like, I personally didn't feel like that, and I felt bad for it. I felt, again, like a bad mom. Like, I don't have a connection with my son, and I don't have this like epic love. It honestly felt for weeks like I was babysitting someone else's kid 24/7. Like, when I looked at him, I knew, like, okay, you're mine and you were in my stomach somehow. Now looking back at that, I feel like that's not that big of a deal, but in that time, in those weeks, it felt really bad. Like, I felt so guilty for not feeling this like epic love connection with my son. I'm not sure if it was because of the depression or if other moms feel like that. Like, can you let me know if you felt like that? Another telltale sign is I just had no desire to do what I wanted to do before. I had no desire to put makeup on. I had no desire to go out or hang out with my friends, have my parents, because they're very encouraging and very supportive of me and my mental health and trying to help me in whatever ways they could, which often was watching Noah while Tommy could take me to run to Target really quick or run to Dunkin' Donuts really quick. So I'm really grateful for that. Next, I want to talk about the anxiety that I've been experiencing. So I mentioned having anxiety in the beginning, like in the nighttime, and that was kind of more anxiety about what was about to happen. The anxiety that I've been feeling maybe in the last 4 months or so is that Noah is just gonna like die. So the first time I felt this, I was putting Noah to bed in his nursery. So he sleeps in his own crib, in his own room for 12 hours. So we're apart from him for a really long time, and we're very blessed that he does sleep so long, and he's been sleeping from 9 hours plus since he was about 8 or 9 weeks old. So it was really rough in the beginning, but it did get better. And lots of that had to do with the taking care of babies class that we took. I did make a full video of my review and my experience with the taking care of babies newborn class, so I will leave that down below, and if I remember, I will link it up here. The first time I experienced like really bad anxiety, I was putting Noah to bed and I was holding him before I placed him in his crib, and like flood of thoughts came over me, and these thoughts were, this is the last time you're gonna hold your son where he's gonna be alive. He's gonna die in his sleep tonight. He's gonna suddenly stop breathing. SIDS is something that's gonna happen to you and your family. It's something that you're gonna experience. All of these thoughts were flooding my head while I was putting my son to sleep, where I wasn't gonna see him for the next 12 hours. I almost didn't put him in his crib that night. I almost told Tommy that I was just gonna hold him that night, but I didn't. I did hold him for longer than I usually do, but I held him for a little bit, and I told myself that I have to put him down. I cannot let this cripple me. I put him down while crying, while feeling like this is the last time I was gonna see him. And I just kept telling him that I loved him. And of course he was fine the next morning. But I felt like this a lot and often, and it just increased. when I would be holding him and walking through the house, I thought I'm gonna trip and I'm gonna fall and he's gonna die or something. Like literally anything. Like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna pick him up off the bed and turn around and trip on something and he's gonna hit his head on my glass desk. Or he's gonna be playing and he's gonna start having a seizure. Like it sounds silly and ridiculous, but these are the things that are in my head. Now that he's started eating not just like pureed foods, but actual table foods, bread and noodles and stuff like that, I have such anxiety that he's gonna choke and I'm not gonna be able to save him. I do know how to do infant CPR, but still, who thinks that they're so confident in infant CPR that they could save their child, you know? I mean, maybe you do, maybe other people do, but for me, I'm like, I don't ever want to use that. I don't ever want to use CPR or infant CPR on someone, because that means that they're choking. That means that they're so close to dying. I do try to calm my nerves and tell them that that is very unlikely. So another thing that I honestly didn't know if I was gonna be sharing in this anxiety section for different reasons, and also because it's just so, not gory, it's so morbid. Like, I don't even know if morbid's the word. It's so dark, and I don't want to put it into the universe, and I also don't want to admit that I have these thoughts, I guess. But something that terrifies me to a crippling point, not just general parental worries, but in a really dark and scary way, is I'm so scared of him being abused, physically or sexually abused, especially at an age where he can't talk. He wouldn't be able to tell me, and he would never know, which is good, I guess, but that also means that I would never know, and that it scares me. Sometimes it prevents me from going out. Let me make it very clear that no one in my life has ever given me a reason to question if they would ever hurt Noah in any way. But I just get scared because you hear of stories of this happening to kids for years under your nose, because it most likely happens with people that they know. And again, let me repeat that no one in my household or in my close circle, my family, Tommy's family, no one gives me any reason to legitimately have this fear, because if they legitimately gave me this fear, they would not be in my son's life. I will tell you that right now. But I would be lying if I said that this doesn't affect me. It does get in the way sometimes of me being able to enjoy things or go out and leave my son with people. And I guess I didn't want to say that because I don't want anyone to think, like I'm saying for the third time, that anyone has ever given me a reason to be worried about this, because they haven't. So I just need to make that so clear. So that's what I've been dealing with regarding anxiety and depression. And years ago, I think about 4.5 years ago now, I was going through some stuff and I felt like I needed to see a therapist. So I found a therapist. She's freaking amazing. So I went to her for a while and I slowly tapered off, and I kind of said, I'm okay, I'm doing better. And I stopped going to her, and I was doing great. And then I got pregnant and I had Noah, and I was struggling again. I really did feel like I wanted to see my therapist again. So I went back. I think last month I went back to her, and it was honestly kind of exciting. Like, I was really looking forward to it. It was fun that I got to go to her and tell her that I'm still with Tommy, we had a baby, and then I think like a week after I saw her, we got engaged. So then I got to tell her now we're engaged, we're gonna get married. So it was a lot of good things that I got to update her about, but obviously I needed to seek some help, some professional help regarding the anxiety and depression that I was dealing with. And for me personally, it's been such a help and it's been such a relief to go to someone that I trust that has professional and medical knowledge to help me deal with everything that I'm going through. And it is not easy, but it's getting better. I think as I get farther from giving birth, my hormones starting to balance out a little bit. I'm still breastfeeding, so I feel like my hormones aren't fully balanced out. It still gets difficult. I do feel like I am getting better. Not that depression and anxiety is something that you can just be cured from and never experience again in your life. That way for some people, and it's a lifelong struggle for others. Okay, we are nearing the end. We are going to be talking about how to support someone who is going through or may be going through or could potentially in the future be going through postpartum depression, even just baby blues and postpartum anxiety. And again, this is my opinions. This is not going to work for every single person. This may not work for any other person ever, but this is just what helped or would have helped me. So one of the biggest things is to be patient. There's really no way to sugarcoat this, but you just don't know what this person's going through. You could be a mom yourself. You still don't know what that person is going through. You can have an idea, but everyone has different factors in their lives that can make things easier or harder. A huge thing that I hear so many moms talking about is feeling like they've lost friends after they get pregnant or have their baby. And I understand both sides to an extent, but if you truly want this person who just had a baby in your life, then along with being patient, inviting them out with or without the baby is extremely helpful. If you really want this person in your life, and if you do want to go the extra mile for them, invite them and make time for them, whether it includes their baby or not. What was really nice was when some people told me, like, I would love to see Noah, but if you just want a mom day or just a girls day, then let's just go grab lunch, girls only or something, you know, because that left it open to, okay, I can bring Noah if either I want to or if it works out for Tommy and I, because she said that she wants to see Noah as well. But if I don't want to, if I just want to make it, you know, a Noah free lunch, I can come without him as well. So it kind of gave me the power to say, yeah, actually Noah will be coming with us, or no, you know what, his daddy will watch him. It'll just be me today. And I think that really helped me be able to go out when I was ready to go out, which brings me to the next point. Reach out if you truly care without any expectation of a reply. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but if your sole purpose of texting is to make sure that that person is okay, then you need to be okay if they don't respond, because there could be so many reasons. There's so many reasons why someone may not text you back, especially when they just had a baby. I think one of the biggest things for me personally that helped was when people reached out to just check in on me, but without any expectation of me responding or me sharing a whole update of what's been going on. You know, if someone sent a really nice long text message saying that I'm doing an amazing job, that, you know, that Noah is so cute and all this kind of stuff, and I either didn't get back to them till like the next day, or if I just said like, thank you, love you, they would be okay with any of that. But again, everyone is so different, and I do plan on making a video titled How to Care for a New Mom. So be on the lookout for that, because I will be going in way more detail about all this stuff, because it's honestly a whole video in itself. But that's gonna be it on my postpartum anxiety and depression story. Like I said, I'm not out of it yet, but I do see that light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm really proud of myself for it, because I remember how dark of a place I was in and how lonely I felt, and I do go back to that place every once in a while, but it's not nearly as often and not nearly for as long. So I'm honestly really proud of myself, and I could not have done it without my friends and my family, and without my amazing partner in all of this, Tommy. He's been truly wonderful, like he always is. So another question somebody asked was, does my depression cause weight gain? And yes, girl, it does. For me, sometimes with my depression comes with me not being able to sleep. So I'll stay up, and then when I'm up, I will be binging Netflix shows, and I need to eat something, or I'm bored, or I'm eating to comfort myself. So it has caused weight gain. And on the other end of it, it's caused me to not be motivated to go to the gym because I just don't want to do anything. So I'm eating a lot of crap, as well as not being motivated to go to the gym. So I'm working on that. I am working on that, but it has caused a weight issue. Someone else asked, is it normal for it to come back and forth? And it totally is normal for it to come back and forth. With any kind of depression and anxiety, not just postpartum, it's so normal for it to come back and forth. It can be situational, it can be hormonal, it can definitely surprise you when you least expect it. Okay, so my camera died, so I just had to charge it for like 5 minutes, so we gotta make this snappy. Someone asked if I have any physical symptoms of anxiety, and in fight, flight, or freeze, I've always been the type to freeze, so that kind of happens as well with my anxiety, and I know other people experience that as well too, but lately with my anxiety I kind of just freeze and cry. And not that I feel like I can't move, but I just can't focus on anything else or do anything else. It's kind of something that I have to like go through and get through, and then I can like move on or figure out why that happened. So I do have some physical symptoms, but mainly it's kind of just freezing, not being able to focus on anything else. Everything kind of just like zones in. But that is it for today's video. I hope this maybe gave you some insight into me and to what I've been through, and I hope that for some of you it is a reminder that you're not alone in what you're going through, and that it doesn't have to be so dark and so lonely all the time. But I completely understand, and it is 100% valid if you do feel like that. Just know that there is help. My DMs are always open, but it is so important to also find someone in your personal life and someone you trust, and possibly even seeking professional help, because like I said in the beginning, I'm not a doctor, but I can be a friend. So if anyone needs that, then I'm your girl. But I hope you guys like this video. Please give me a thumbs up down below if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please follow me on Instagram as well. And if there are any other questions that you guys have, if you guys want me to make another part of this video, you can leave it down below, drop it in my DMs. I will get back to you guys, but I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for sitting through this video. I love you guys. Bye.